Hello and welcome back. In this short lecture, we're going to learn about how to build the proper structure within the PowerShell or the pass on our syntax structure with the parameters and passing multiple parameters and the values and filtering out those values which we're going to learn in a minute or so. As a first step, I need to work with some of the commands. So let me type as the get help. And let's take one of the one of the command led, maybe like services which we worked earlier, and then get the full information. So that's detailed information and hit enter. Now you're going to get the full information. The reason for detailed information is I can have some of the examples and some of the detailed structures so that I can actually explain to you in the syntax format. So you might be looking at here three different syntaxes. Why should we have one command for a single command? Why we have three different syntaxes? If you can clearly notice, there would be definitely somewhere something differs. Can you guess what could be the difference here for a minute? Exactly. If you can take up here as the name, this name was not there in anywhere of these two. And similarly, if you can see here, similarly, the input object is not there either the first example or the last example. And the last one would be the display name. If you look at here, this display name is nowhere here. So what it means technically is you can use three different parameters to get the output. So which one to be used, it all depends on you. So if you're wondering what exactly the name as well as the input object, which is specific to service controls, and third one would be the display name, you would be actually getting here. Like the display name is a string value to be used. It can't be a different value other than the string, so it must be used as a string to be as the give the input, and then the string would take it into a different format and it will pass on it. Similarly, if you are looking for other values here, for example input object, as I said, it's going to be a service controller. This is specific to the service control object representing that specific service which are getting retrieved out of your query. And the name, this is the service name. So these are the whatever it is allowed. For example, here the while characters are permitted by default. Let's have a look on it more detailed. If you look at here, this is the hyphen is always coming up with as the parameter. So these parameters will take the arguments. In this case, these arguments are, in this case, type is the string. If you can look at here, this is a string. So these strings are, you can check out here with these kind of brackets which are showing as a separate. So these are the strings only can be taken up. It's not the date or different parameters. You can pass it as the input here. It's just accept the string values. Let's try to open another PowerShell and try to run with that specific command line and see what kind of output we're going to get it. So in this case, I'm going to get -service with the computer name, or let's take the here as the name and the string name. So let's give this as the out question. So in this case, it's going to be get -service and then the -name string. So the string value should be given here. In this case, I didn't give the string value. So without the string also, if I give the name, which is not coming because I need to pass the some name here as a mandatory. So let's run the get -service. You come to know, if you just go up of the entire screen, and you would be getting here as the name. So this is the name. So if I could have give here as a name, maybe ALG, it could have been accepted that name. For example, let me take and run this command one more time here as maybe bits or some kind of service, maybe WLMS. So it's accepted, and we are able to get that specific value. What if I want to have more values along with this? I want even bits also, or I want maybe here maybe binarium example. So you can just give the separate as you can separate with the comma and get the output. So whatever the output you wanted, you can easily get it by separating the required values. How do you know that it is just accepting the multiple values within this parameter? Let's go back to the help once again and have a look on it here on any of this. For example, we tried this command line. So if you look at here, the name what we have given, opposed to that, it is actually accepting a string value. And if you look at here, these two are angular brackets. So these angular brackets, inside you have the square bracket. So whenever square brackets coming up, that means it is accepting more than one input. That's a point we need to make a note, or we need to memorize that, so that you can build on any kind of command line you can build if you know these kind of simple tricks. So this accept multiple inputs. So all you have to give is here like comma as a separate, then it accepts that values. That's what we have given here in this situation, or in this case as the example. And also I wanted to tell you something else here. If you look at all of these three, there's a difference that in the brackets, if you look at the square bracket side, there's a huge difference, or one of these syntax has a difference, if you can guess it. If not, I can tell you that everything was closing inside, but except here as the display name. So here the display name is not closing inside the bracket. If you can see here, everything is getting closed inside the square brackets, right? But not the display name. That means if it is not closing, that means this is a required parameter. So these are the required parameters. But if you look at others, different syntaxes, if I try to use as this method, it's optional. So that means if I try to use here as the direct command line, I would be getting the output. For example, here I can simply get the output because in this parameter there is nowhere it is required. So because it was completely closing this entire syntax. So if you are trying to use in a method like hyphen display name, that means it is a required parameter. You need to fill that value in the format of string value only will be accepted, not the time or other values. So that's how it's going to build up. Now we'll try to build the previous one. This is the command. Let's clear up the screen and go back to the command. This is where I wanted to build up somewhere to get the more information from one of my LAN computers. So let's try to ping a computer which is in my LAN, like inhyd-dc01. This is my domain controller in my lab, which I'm able to ping. So this is a native command which we try now. Now I'm going to get the service status from that computer. So to do that, I can simply type as a computer name as in this case the inhyd-dc01. So I should be able to get the values from that specific services. So on this machine we are able to pull these values. So you see how we intelligently build the complete query here. So the same query, if I don't give till here, if I just give this, it's just coming out of my local computer. But this is where if I just give the computer name and the computer name as whatever the computer name, if I enter, I'm getting that specific computer name, and it's going to execute on that computer all these specific commands. So this is quite easy. If you're thinking how did I give this computer name, because you can check out here in the help, there you have all the parameters. So the first one itself talks about the computer name, so you have to give the computer name. And if you see here, you also have the two square brackets. That means you can give multiple computers. So in this case, for example, if I give here separated with a local host, which is my local computer, it's going to work, and it's going to give the values from my local computer also. That's why it's just double the values. And I can later point I can filter out with the computer name also to come up in the upcoming lectures. But for now, you should be able to easily identify that if you see here anything is the two squares, that means two square brackets. So mostly it would be accepted the multiple values. as input, and you can check out here as the computer and dependent services. All these are the parameters which you can read, and you can now once you read that, you can, if you look at here the examples, it makes more sense to understand. For example, this is what we tried: get services in a computer name, and that's a computer name called server2. So let me actually try here the same command with inhyd hyphen this is your one. So it's going to pull up all the services from that computer, and it is actually showing here. If you see here, you can check out different services. For example, I do have here LDAP specific services, so you can check out here MSDC, and all that are the DNS server specific services also running, because this is coming from my DNS server. But if I just run on this service, if I just try to filter anything with the name as see here, if I type as a DNS as the name, which is the display name or the service name, wherever it is. So the service name is you have here as a DNS. If I just go up, I have the DNS and DNS specific client services. So what I've done is I just filtered to only specific to the DNS, and I was able to get these specific DNS server as well as the DNS client specific services which are running on that client computer. If I just remove out this computer name and simply run, it's going to actually show up on my client machine, which is just have the DNS client. So it's very clear that I'm actually pulling out and I'm able to get more information directly from the remote computer. So this is how easily you can build any kind of script. Similarly, for the other example, as we talked about here, for the required parameter, which is in this case as the display name, what we have seen here, the first one is a display name, right? So this is the one which we can give a try one more time, or just get here as service, and then display name anything like maybe DNS, and then you can give as the while characters, so that anywhere any value which has a DNS which will be resulting. So you are able to pull up even the display name as the value we must have to give as a string. That's what as per this syntax, which is a built-in syntax. So this is how you have to cross-check and start building on your own syntax. If you check out here, there's a major difference. The difference is here, like every out of these three syntaxes, only one is ending with the two brackets. If you see here, these square brackets are nowhere it is coming as a double time or the two times, but except to the here for the name, which is coming as a parameter. So what does it means? It means that if I try to execute, it will directly execute. That means the name itself optional. That it means if you're trying to give here as the multiple name, for example here I can give here as name, and then in that situation I need to give here some of the name, for example maybe a beds. Such things I can give out here. If I don't give as the name as a filter, it's gonna give me full information directly without a filtering option. So that means it even accepts the a filter. It doesn't require any kind of filter option. It is the default command which it's gonna work. So in this example, we also call as the positional. Sometimes if you refer to the documentation, sometimes we also call it as the positional input, or the parameter we call it. I'm going to use some of the aliases so that you would not be getting too confused when you go back to the rear wall. So let me clear the screen. As you know that if you want to get aliases, you can simply type as the get hyphen alias. Maybe in the upcoming lectures we would be start using the aliases, but that's how the persons who knows the PowerShell would be used all the time aliases. For example, in this case I can give you one example. Let's find out for the first thing is the get service, which is the command we wanted to give here, get service. For that we are looking for the bit specific. So if I want to write for the alias-v, as you can go for GSV and then bits, and that would actually list my get services. So if somebody asks or some kind of a script, if you see here GSV, it would be more confusing, but if you start using these kind of aliases in your day-to-day activity or day-to-day your scripts, then it would be familiar for you and it would be easy for you. And if you don't know, you can always go for the get hyphen help for that specific value, in this case GSV. So somewhere GSV specific value will be available, and that is nothing but your alias, and that information it comes up. You can see here the actual command is the get up in service, and its alias category you can find out as the GSV. That's how you're going to find out the specific value. Let's also check out some other aliases. For example, I can pull out here the complete processes execution on my computer. So I don't need to give as a full name as a computer as the input. Instead, I can give as a C, and I need to just type my remote computer name, in this case NHYD hyphen DC01. That's my computer name. So what happened is it's gonna pull up all that processes information, all these threads information from my remote computer. In this case, this is the computer which is actually pulling up all my task manager specific, all these details which are coming out of this machine. So I just switched for my domain controller, and I was able to show you what is happening there. Say example, if I just close here this processor, which is the command window from my domain controller, you can if I try to pull one more time, this CMD will go off, which is the processor thread. It's not there, and you can see here now it's no more the CMD. That means we're able to pull out. But the idea is here, what exactly the PS is, again, as I said, it's one of the alias, and what exactly hyphen C. So most of the scripters, what they do is they don't like to write full information. So for example, let's keep it like that and try to fulfill here like processor information and hyphen C. C stands for what? If you don't know, you can simply hit tab. That would actually types the entire parameter value. So if you're don't want to fully type anything and simply give as a C, also it accepts that value, and then it simply runs. And you can see here it's just running on the local machine. That entire commandlet is throwing out the input on the processor information. So if you're able to get me what I'm trying to do, just to give you more detail, don't be confused with the aliases. Aliases we already talked about, but here you don't know what exactly PS stands for. So in that case, you simply type get alias hyphen PS. So you know that PS stands for here get processes as the actual command, and you're using this PS command. And if you remember in the previous one, what we have tried is we did even try to pull the information from the remote computer also, like this. So what happened, PS is the get hyphen processor, that's what it is means, and hyphen C stands for the computer name, which I've already shown you when you press the tab button. And the computer names you can give like so this is the parameters which we already talked about. Almost the confusing part. Maybe sometimes if you see any of the script, they might confuse you to hide some kind of information, but as best practice, you always write instead of the aliases, try to go for the actual commandlet. Like in this case, you can give here as a get hyphen processes, and instead of C, you can give as a computer name, and here the computer name, whatever the computer name you want to give, so that it would be more sensible to read. If somebody as a new person is trying to read, it looks very good and neat for others. So this is what the more confusing part within the scripting. I hope this is useful for you. Thank you for watching this.